Well, I am the chief rabbi of the liberalists, after all.
Oh yeah, you are.
Hello,
Oy
guys.
vey.
Oy vey.
Oy vey.
Happy Hanukkah, happy holidays, and happy Christmas. It is your boy, the chief rabbi of the liberalists, Mitch. And with me is a star-studded cast. Well, we have the usuals. Chicago Liberal, how do you do?
Oh yeah, you
I
are.
do.
Hello,
Oy
guys.
vey.
Oy vey.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Oy
Give me a
vey.
moment, guys. Happy Hanukkah, happy holidays. There we are. Everybody's going to hear that now. And just above the Chadus Maximus himself is the Chadus Comicus, who covered himself in petrol, as we say in the UK.
Oh
in the
fuck. Dude, did you really have to oust me like that?
That just sounds wrong.
This is cyberbullying.
Yeah, well, you know, we have to dunk on the younger.
All right, I'll tell the story in a bit after
We
you.
we will. But anyway, how you doing, Alcazar?
I'm fine. I just ate a whole ass pizza and I'm feeling great.
I had technically a whole pizza, but it was two halves of different pizzas. And with us is our guest, as you may tell, guys, Mr. British Knight. How do you do?
I am fine, thank you very much.
Are you ready to get spurged?
I am absolutely ready to get spurged on.
Yeah.
Well, technically,
so
you've been spurged on once before,
I believe
by Star Wars.
This sounds
Yes,
oddly sexual.
it does.
wait, okay, British Knight. Tell me who you are, cause I didn't I've never heard of you until like yesterday.
I am I do YouTube just like Mitch does, and I talk about mainly around politics and philosophy. I'm new to this game, having only started this year, and I want to stretch into economics, but haven't quite reached that point yet because I am not that well read in the subject as of yet. So
Are you sponsored by Raid Shadow Legends?
no, I'm not Dankula, thanks.
Are you? What about NordVPN?
Or Express.
I'm not sponsored by anyone because I'm the little guy. I'm the new guy on the block, and no one wants to
Redistribute the
sponsor
means
me.
of sponsorships.
Spergonomics will head the new Spergonometry, so let's do this.
Disclaimer: Spergonomics is in fact not sponsored by NordVPN or Raid Shadow Legends,
Oh,
but
that's
check
right.
them out anyway.
They're sponsored by Spurgs, like us.
So anyway, I have
I
a
never
new
knew I got paid.
I have a new addition to the fold, as in the church, you know, the Church of Liberalism, or
Of the liberalists.
The
the
synagogue
liberalists.
or whatever.
The synagogue, yeah. Ebola-chan, our erstwhile friend, is now a member of the synagogue. He asked, and I gave it him because he asked politely. So the chief rabbi has spoken. He is now a member of the flock. So anyway, I don't know if you probably know about this joke, don't you, British Knight, that I'm the chief rabbi of the liberalists. British Knight?
Yes, you are the big old Jew. Sorry, I had to cut the mic there.
Wait, what the fuck? What did
Boomerang.
Legatus put in? Shits on table.
Yeah, so for those of you who don't know, I can finally tell you who it was I was referring to on the last show, was it? Yeah, it's Keith Woods, who was a... what is he? What even is he? Apart from
He's
an idiot?
probably like an alt-writer or something.
Well, I don't like to use that term, because it's like an umbrella, if anything. I don't even want to call
Well,
him a fascist.
paleo-conservative?
He's not. He's not even...
Shithead.
Well, he is that, but I guess he's a fascist because, you know, socially conservative but economically communist. Like,
Yeah, that's fascism.
yeah. So,
Yeah,
but
I
don't
like
wanna...
how
Go on.
I like how some people unironically call themselves Nazbol, as if that isn't just fascism.
It's funny because their symbol is
Nazbol is centrism, don't at me.
basically the third position. Well, to them, they are the centrists in their worldview.
No, they actually are, right? Because they combine fascism and communism. If that's not centrism, I don't know what the fuck is.
Well, if anything, it's more.
Gas the centrist.
It's centre left, isn't it?
My God, so they're basically just the normies. Gas the normies.
The thing is, like,
Yes.
if you look at the original Bolshevik symbol, you know, their flag, it's basically the same as the Nazi one, but it's just not a swastika, it's the hammer and sickle.
Nazgul game.
So like anyway, so I just as everybody knows the story, I poked fun at him and said get a job, and he said I have a job. I've had a job for 2 months, apparently. So now I am.
Yeah, he recently was forced to leave.
He left willingly. He quit. There's a video about
I
it.
guess that's one way to say you get fired.
He said it was soul crushing or killing his soul to get a job or something, or to work a job, and I'm like, weak.
Fucking,
I know.
I don't know. Millennial. I don't know.
Well,
Well, how old is he?
He's 20.
Zoomer.
I think. Yeah, he's a zoomer. So
No wonder no one liked him.
and then
Yeah.
because I made these jokes at him, he assumed I was Jewish. Like, come on, I don't think anybody needs to be Jewish to tell you to get a job.
For someone who holds an ideology that's pretty much all about like compliance with the state and doing your part for society, so like he's not really doing much of anything for anyone right now, is he?
They have this weird. They have this weird thing. It's like it's a cognitive dissonance where they want spiritual and some kind of weird fulfillment in their lives. They want philosophical and spiritual fulfillment, yet they have this desire to do everything for the common good and for the state. And it's like, well, you can't have both. You know, either you're an individual who seeks their own path, you know, or you subvert, or you just completely, you know, dedicate yourself to the collective. You know, which means, as in Demolition Man, you basically become a hollow husk of a person because you have no fulfillment of any. It doesn't even have to be spiritual, really. But
Is
you know,
Keith Woods one of these Catholic groiper types?
well, he's Irish, so he probably most likely is Catholic. But as opposed to being a groiper, probably he doesn't call himself one though. But it's so funny because he's been fighting AA again, and I'm blocked now, unfortunately. So I can watch it. All I can
If
do.
you want, I can watch it for you. He hasn't blocked me yet.
All I do is make sure that the meme is alive, and say, "Has he got a job yet?"
It's very.
Do you want me to ask
time.
him? How's the job search going,
No,
buddy?
he'll block you. I need my spies.
Or I'll tweet him and be like, "Oh, I'm sorry, us Jews have blacklisted you."
But by the way, British Knight, have you read Heidegger, brah?
I don't think I have. You'll have to enlighten me.
What the fuck is Heidegger, bro?
Heidegger is a German philosopher. Martin
Oh,
Heidegger.
ew.
Imagine reading
Ew.
German
Ew,
philosophers.
crowds.
it's
I'm
to-
sorry.
It's not like I've got
Mitch,
Hegel and Kant or anything. But
You know my positions here. I don't
worry.
want to talk about them.
don't worry. Well, first we will discuss British Knight's take, how woke he is on the German question. Obviously.
Yeah. How woke are you? How woke are you with a GQ?
Look, I'm not saying I want to exterminate the Germans. I'm just saying if Germany and Austria and most of southern Scandinavia disappeared, I wouldn't be complaining.
What's wrong with the Danish?
I have
What's with the
to.
names?
I have to support the Austrians because they gave us pretty good economic schools of
Yeah,
thought.
Jürgen von Bomverwerk.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but the
Oh,
Austrians and the Swiss are not the same thing as like Krauts. So
Yeah, the
Alright.
Austrians are okay.
Are you saying they're honorary English? Because
Well, Hayek
that's
is
the-
I
an
didn't
Anglo.
say they're
honorary
English.
British now.
Hayek technically
Yeah.
is an Anglo though, or was, and so was Karl Popper. So
Wasn't Hayek eventually moved to like Chicago or something?
no, Hayek moved to Britain, and then he moved to Germany. But he was a British citizen, yeah.
he retook the blue pill.
Well, he only went there to teach, so you can argue he was purely there to pump red pills.
Spread
into
the
system.
will of Britain.
I mean, he's basically a British liberal if you think about it. You know, from
Yeah.
what I've read. And Karl Popper too was similar. You know, he became British and lived there for the rest of his life.
Yeah, say he moved to Chicago. I don't know what the fuck you're
I
talking
mean,
about.
Mises
Ludwig
was
von Mises literally was Austrian. Then he moved to Germany, and then he immediately fucked off to the United States and wrote like all of his shit there.
It's funny though, like Austria has given us quite a lot of stuff. You know, psychoanalysis, the Austrian school, Hitler. You know, a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
It's you know, the Germans have actually, you know, unironically they have given us a lot of good stuff, but it seems like
Now you watch your fucking tongue there, Mitch.
caveats coming.
Over
The
the
caveats
mountains just a
coming.
little bit.
But the caveat is coming though, because as AJP Taylor correctly pointed out, it is a history of extremes. So on the one hand, we get Kant and we get Volkswagen and all that, you know, when they're not, messing with their emissions statistics. We also get Hitler and German idealism and things like that. So,
We German.
the like today I was watching the football.
Oh my god, there's an entire section of his Wikipedia article on Germanophobia. Oh, this is cool.
Oof. So anyway, so I was watching the football, and there's a German footballer called Rudiger, and when he was angry, I was concerned. I'm just imagining him going 99999.
999.
and thinking, and I just imagine burning buildings behind him, faded away. So anyway, British Knight, how you doing? What's your next video on? What are you up to currently?
I'm planning on doing a little wholesome something for Christmas.
No.
I know this stream isn't much about wholesomeness, so
It can
I'll
be.
put that aside for
It
now.
can't be, as long as the wholesome is shitposty and spurgy.
It's more like a reading of a letter from the armistice of 1914.
Oh, that's cute. I
Would
love
that be
that.
18? The armistice? Or do you
No,
mean the
it's not.
Christmas?
No,
No, this is
1914.
a Christmas troop.
Christmas of 1914. It was 105 years ago.
Wow,
Mhm.
bloody hell.
And after that, my next video is going to be a definitive explanation of what. After that, it's going to be an analysis of the election, which I've been meaning to get out, but I just haven't been able to put it into words.
Mm.
Yeah,
And
I managed to do
because
one. Just about.
yeah, I like to script everything, so it really cuts into my time. And after that, I'm eventually going to get the video that I've been trying to get out for 4 months, which has been the definitive explanation of what classical liberalism is, because it still triggers me that so many people use the term without actually knowing what it means.
Yeah, classical
I
liberalism.
used to be like
is-
that. Then I realized that I actually am classical liberal.
To
so
me,
I was
it's the late 1600s, late 1700s, early 1800s liberal
Really,
thought, to me.
the
It's
most classical liberal politicians you can find are W.E. Gladstone and somewhat Margaret Thatcher.
What about Edmund Burke?
Edmund Burke is a conservative.
Well,
He's not a classical liberal.
he was a liberal.
It's like
What are you
Think
talking
about
about?
it.
It's like-
Because Edmund Burke was in favor of getting rid of the aristocracy, replacing it with capitalism. That's pretty liberal to me.
He
Well-
also was very transcendental in his social views and was actually against the freedom of writing. Like he banned Thomas Paine's work.
See, the problem is there's a lot of classical liberalism was split into two camps. There was the British camp, which was pro-religious tolerance and and I think that was the main difference. But there were some economic differences as well. And then there was the French school, which was strictly anti-religion and I believe was slightly more protectionist. It wasn't absolutely free market.
Nah, the French have always been more
And
protectionist.
then you've got
in there.
the Germans.
And
Ah.
I
The Germans have never been liberal.
Yeah, but they do have their own school. To be fair, Kant, Hegel.
Kant
Goethe.
isn't a liberal.
But he was.
Kant actually had explicitly illiberal views.
Hegel then. Goethe.
Hegel brought us Karl Marx.
He also brought us Nietzsche though, so
Nietzsche's not a liberal either.
true, but he's still better than them.
Nietzsche's just black-pilled.
I don't know. I don't think he's that black pilled. I think he just wanted to criticize everything. That doesn't mean he necessarily was black pilled. I mean,
but he was sort of black pill because when he said God is dead, he
was
wasn't saying that as celebratory.
it was metaphorical, as opposed
Yeah.
to literal death of religion. It's a bit. I mean, it is complicated, but now he's too funny. When you actually read him, he's hilarious, and
See,
not unintentionally. He's intentionally funny. So I don't think he's that black pilled. I think there's a
armchair
rawness to it.
intellectuals will treat Nietzsche as if he's like the ultimate, he's the ultimate black pill. When in
really
truth,
not.
his whole thing is trying to answer the problems that come with a lack of religiosity in the world, and trying to find answers rather than just let people fall to nihilism. He doesn't promote it.
No.
He's actively against nihilism.
Yeah, and he predicted the 20th century and the carnage and horror that was
Yeah, it's like,
that was in it for the first half. Like literally in
ironically, the people who most idealize Nietzsche are the
Hmm.
people he would despise the most.
Oh yeah, he literally says I hate socialists in that. Like, but I mean, he hated everyone. But you know what's interesting about him? He
Well,
was.
hating commies is the wokest take. So
What is
I mean,
funny though, he was a stateless man. Like he was a no borders kind of person, at least individually, you know. Like
Yeah, because he lived in Switzerland and Italy and Germany. Didn't he spend some time in the UK too?
I've not read that. I know
I'm
Matt
pretty sure
did.
he died in Torino.
Yeah, he died in Italy. Yeah, I mean, he knew a few British philosophers, I reckon, but
I thought he lived in Britain for a while.
de Tocqueville had a British wife though.
Alexis de Tocqueville?
Yeah. His wife was British.
Oh, I know that guy.
Yeah, he was.
He was the guy that wrote Democracy in America.
Indeed. Now he's one of my
I
favorites.
I know nothing about it other than he wrote that book.
He's
so.
the most un-French philosopher. Yeah, I guess he was a
Well,
philosopher.
he's honorary British.
Well, his wife was British, so he is.
Yeah.
He is to me anyway. You know, he's honorary. Yeah. But like, what's interesting is that he didn't follow the Rousseauian thing. He didn't follow the likes of Voltaire or anything like that. Maybe like, I'd say maybe in principle he agreed with him. You know, like in theory, like, you know, yeah, free speech and all that, brilliant. But then there's this other side of it, which actually leads to tyranny, which I can't get behind, you know. And that's I think that's his British leanings, because that's why he liked America so much, because it was like the apex of our system, I guess, the next logical.
Well, that's why I don't even
progression.
call it British liberalism. I call it Anglo-American liberalism.
Yeah. And then you've
Also,
got,
would you
go
would
on.
you consider Thomas Jefferson a classical liberal though?
I mean, yeah, I would say so.
Yeah, no, not really. He was
suppose
pretty. He was
so.
very. He loved tariffs.
True.
Like
I
he
think
funded the American government on tariffs for a while.
I think he was in spirit in terms of like how he applied how he applied himself like within his lifetime. Probably not.
Ebola Chan for €2. I said, good evening, fellow Jews.
Uden.
How do you do, fellow Jews?
Yeah.
Shalom,
Also,
bro.
I've noticed I've stopped saying English and now I almost exclusively say Anglo.
So I only say Anglo on the internet though. I don't really say it in real life. But
Well, I say it in real life too, and then everybody's like, "Al, what the fuck is Anglo?" And I was like, oh, "Shit." I forgot I'm not on the internet.
you can't say angle because people would be confused. Like, what do you mean angle?
Anglo? What the fuck is this Anglo stuff? I'm like, oh god.
So like, here's a good question for you, British Knight. So you know Thomas Hobbes though, was he a liberal? Because he's considered part of the tradition. Like without him,
He's
we wouldn't.
He's considered part of the French tradition, and
Really?
that's
Hobbes?
because he's considered part of the French tradition, and he is personally a conservative, but his contributions to the discussion on the state of nature are what are incorporated in classical liberalism.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, because it's through him that John Locke and Adam Smith expanded their views on the state of nature. Because John Locke was in direct opposition, whereas Adam Smith took a sort of in-between position where he said the state of nature is what's happening now.
And then they had Hume, who was like, it's a load of bollocks.
Yeah, he just said the state of nature doesn't
But
exist.
there's also
just
Rousseau
like,
as well, and Montesquieu. They were interested. Montesquieu. They were interested.
Montesquieu.
Montesquieu. Yeah, I hate French.
Montesquieu.
It probably is pronounced like that though. To be in
No,
some
it's
French.
Montesquieu.
Englishman Anglo hates the French. Color me surprised.
it's in our DNA.
It
We
is.
have to.
There's a book out literally that says 1,000 years of annoying the French.
I mean, why do you think Americans treat Canada so poorly? It's because it's part French.
No, it's
Well, I mean,
because
the Quebecois just live somewhere that's complete shit, and it's a real.
Well, no, I actually okay. As much of a francophile as I am, I fucking cannot stand Quebecers. I swear to God. Like, dude, they are such entitled little shits.
Yeah.
Like they demand that like the rest of the country speaks their language, despite that they don't have a need for it, and they're in the minority. Why does Canada need to be a bilingual country? And on top of that, English is the global lingua franca, so there's like no point in learning a language. So I don't even.
It's like asking an Englishman to learn Gaelic. It's like it's not
Yeah.
gonna happen.
It would be like it would be exactly like Englishmen making an Anglo learn Welsh. It's not
Yeah.
So
necessary.
it is an interesting thing though. So like Hobbes is considered kind of considered part of the tradition. He knows conservative. What about Machiavelli?
Machiavelli, I
when
would
you
say, is more an inspiration than directly part of the.
When you look at his actual discourses, like how he would like his state to be run, it's pretty free.
It is, but in the sense that like he pushed for representative democracy, like more as a solution to direct democracy than any kind of is a solution to the failings of direct democracy, whereas classical liberals don't really have a preference on the like nature of the state so long as the state does what it's supposed to.
Yeah, I can see that.
Like he had a particular preference for the nature of the state where classical liberals don't.
So where would you say classical liberalism kind of has its footnote? So no, let's rephrase, not footnote. Its end. So like not like his end as an ideology, but like where you can say this is where it becomes something else. So more like
classical liberalism.
So like
in
we get
Britain,
from
at
Locke
least.
to say J.S. Mill, for example. Would you say he's like the split?
Yeah, I would say philosophically he's the split, but in terms of practice, at least in Britain, I'd say it was around the 1860 where classical liberalism became neoclassical liberalism, what's known now as bleeding heart libertarianism, where which was essentially a compromise with the workers, where classical liberals started advocating for a small welfare state, and slowly started to, I guess you could say, capitulate to more protectionist policies, and which was through, like I said, which is how neoclassical liberalism essentially by the start of the 20th century evolved into social liberalism.
So this is Gladstone, Disraeli. I know Disraeli was part of the Conservative Party, but
Yeah.
He was more a one nation Tory, but
I mean, yeah, because he was none of the four nations, so of course he'd be like, "Oh, I'm British." Yeah.
well, no, he was born in England.
Fair enough.
it was
Or was it his dad born in Italy? Or his
well,
granddad?
One nation tourism is it's not like, oh, I'm not originally from Britain, therefore we should all just be British as opposed to English, Scottish.
It's more
or whatever.
along the
different.
line.
Yeah.
It's very much bred from a tradition of English conservatives wanting to keep the union together at all costs, even if it's directly detrimental to the people on the ground, especially in the, shall we say, the non-dominant countries, essentially Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland.
I mean,
Why are One Nation Tories so passionately?
It's because at the time I would say it was probably more an imperial thing, but now I think it's just a sense that we have such a tenured history as Britain rather than just England.
It's funny though because
it's treated as part of the English tradition as much. Britain itself is part of the English tradition.
I think it's overstated how imperialist we actually were, especially in the 1860s.
Oh yeah, even by the 18 there's a monument near. I'll discuss this on this week in history with the bread shut. There's a monument near where I live called Penshaw Monument, which is a Roman style monument that is made in commemoration of the first governor of Canada, who even in the 1840s wrote a document which essentially laid the foundation for how we treat colonies, which was essentially just as long as they are part of the empire and they're not in active rebellion, we'll just leave them alone. And this was written in direct response to, obviously, the independence of America, which was partially because of essentially too much interference on our part.
Even though that was also overstated, and I remember when I was learning about this in college, for those Americans, this is high school senior for you guys. In sixth form. If anything, we were making laws, but if anything, we were trying to get them to pay for their own defense. Mostly, that's what the laws were generally about, from what I can remember. Also, we got before we continue, I've got another super chat from Greed the Avaricious. 40 days until the UK's free. Anglo capitalism ho. Also, he mentions in a non super chat, but I think this is pretty relevant. There are two types of one nation tourism: the Israeli kind and the cooked, wet pro EU kind. Boris Johnson's tourism is more of the former, with low key baseness, which is, I guess, true.
Well, it's true because apparently he's taken the pro-asylum seeker amendments out of the Brexit agreement. So apparently he is going for the hard immigration stance again.
Yeah,
because I know he was pretty on the fence about it during the actual election campaign.
So who would you say was like the arch social liberal, like who fully created that in this country? Because I would say it was probably Lloyd George.
Was probably Lloyd George. It was probably Lloyd.
What's the main difference between social liberalism and classical?
Classical liberalism doesn't really take a social stance. It's only as long as you are abiding by the principles of free speech and free expression,
And
as long
economic liberalism or whatever.
Yeah, as long as the inalienable human rights are protected as a moral compass to guide economic liberalism, then you're fine. But whereas social liberalism is actively socially liberal, actively socially left, and it also abandons a lot of the, like I said, through its predecessor neoclassical liberalism, it also abandons a lot of the free market principles that made liberalism laissez-faire to the point where it's actively protectionist nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
And then that led into...
Well, I mean, I wouldn't say neoliberals are protectionist.
No, but this isn't neoliberalism. This is neoclassical liberalism.
Oh, sorry. God.
We're not quite in neoliberalism, which is a 50s, 60s phenomenon.
No, it started in the 1930s there was a meeting between a bunch of economists and intellectuals where they thought liberalism and free markets were under attack and they wanted to protect it. That's basically what I know from the origin of neoliberalism.
But see, the problem is neoliberalism has been implied in such a way that it's still socially very left-wing.
Because a lot of them are former trots, basically.
Yeah, and it's still very socially left-wing, but it's economically free market, and that doesn't really work because classical liberalism works because it has a sort of hands-off moral compass to guide it. And like I said, which is expressed through the Night Watchman state, but social liberalism is nothing like that. It's still very big government, very pro hate laws and stuff like that. Very much the kind of stuff that caused Count Dankula's arrest. Yeah. I mean, those laws were introduced under Blair. The 2003.
Fuck, dude, I hate Blair, dude.
So the Supreme Court is just a French parasite on our system.
So in practice, neoliberalism doesn't work because it's the economic theories of classical liberalism, but applied through a social liberalist framework, which ultimately is incompatible with one another. That's why when I'm in my video, I'm going to talk about how there's two kinds of line of succession for classical liberalism. There's the intellectual successor, which is more free market conservatism and libertarianism, and there's the evolutionary successors, which obviously goes neoclassical liberalism, social liberalism, and then neoliberalism. And I want to differentiate between the two because libertarians are arguably much more classically liberal, especially in practice. Perhaps not political libertarians who are economic, fiscally conservative, socially liberal, and all that bollocks.
Yeah. Oh, you don't like those people who are like physically conservative but socially liberal. You don't like those types.
No, not at all. I think it's fence sitting as far as I'm concerned. I think it's an attempt to be a third option in
Oh, you mean
order
a
to appeal to
third
voters.
position?
Yeah, essentially, it's trying to be a third position in order to essentially appeal to voters during times in which they're discontent with both parties.
Yeah.
And that's not libertarianism. That's not what it is.
I think
And I think
like another thing is it's trying to reconcile state-run things like the welfare state as well. Like I've seen I've not read it yet, but in the Constitution of Liberty by Hayek, he's got a whole part of it on the welfare state and things like that. And according to
Wasn't Hayek in favor of like something of
I was about
welfare
to get
state?
to that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I've heard from our good friend Ebola Chan that he was in favour of that in the 70s when he wrote that, maybe 60s. And I know Milton Friedman was saying the same thing. So like, but these people they're not social liberals, they're not neoliberals or anything like that. So what would make somebody like them be in favour of that? I mean, Friedman was even in favour of UBI, and I'm well opposed to that, you know.
Yeah.
well, it's
Not
more-
me. I'm
Not
a
you, obviously.
yang yang.
I think it's more the it's under the addendum that obviously you can't have immigration, or if you do, you have very little in order to have any welfare state at all. Whereas, like I said, social liberals are trying to play both sides by having, and indeed neoliberals by having lots of immigration in order to.
Oh yeah,
appeal-
neoliberals. A bunch of the you on the neoliberal subreddit, like I do a lot of the time. They're all in favor. They're all like open borders, but they're all also like from favor of socialized healthcare. And I'm like, you can't have one without the other.
Well, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
They're trying to apply social liberal. They're trying to apply social liberal social policy while also appealing to a free market. I'm just like, no, that's going to screw over the market. In any country that's attempted, that's going to screw over the native working class.
Yeah.
You can't, and they will actively revolt against you. You can't do that.
Yeah. But then you'll get called xenophobic. It's really annoying because like I have a lot of socially liberal positions, but at the same time I'm not like a neolib. Even though I'm still like a harding capitalist, it's really annoying
I've
to
been
like
thinking
reconcile.
about this question as well. Sorry, do you want to say something, British Knight?
No, I was just going to say, it's like, I don't think there's anything wrong with being, like, having contemporary social positions. I just think, like, being I'm not going to say pro LGBT because as a collectivized group, they have went off the deep end. But
Yeah. And gay people are not a monolith.
yeah,
So.
but being pro gay or pro lesbian or whatever, I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with that.
Yeah.
I think in fact that that's absolutely fine. I just think that once you can only take social liberalism so far before you kind of start to lose the structures that make a society function, and that's why I'm moderate. Like I just run myself as moderately socially conservative because I do hold some socially liberal positions, but only insofar that the social framework can be maintained. So
Yeah.
I probably wouldn't have a problem with someone calling me a social centrist, but I honestly would say realistically I have more socially conservative positions than socially liberal ones. But the socially liberal ones I do hold are probably the ones that count.
Yeah.
Because I've been thinking about this. How do you reconcile stuff like having a welfare state and being a classical liberal, where it's entirely free market, and somehow have a cogent and coherent ideology? Because I've been thinking, it seems increasingly that it's more like a reality that is probably going to be here to stay for the foreseeable future anyway. So you've got to try and figure out how to reconcile that.
Well, ultimately, people live in
make it affordable as well,
Well, that's what I mean. People ultimately live in a state of apathy. As long as as long as it's benefiting them, they're not going to do anything to try and change it.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, there are ways to make it sustainable.
Yeah, there are. But my point is that the only way we're going to see a complete destruction of the welfare state is if it collapses in on itself and people are suddenly and quite violently alerted to the fact that no, actually, especially under the conditions there currently are, it's not going to work. And I think only then will people start to turn away from it and look for alternatives, and at which point free marketeers will be going, hey, how about we create a society in which everybody's so rich they don't need a welfare state?
So
Or at the very least, where at least everyone's socially generous enough,
Yeah.
perhaps through, again, moderate social conservatism, that the poor are looked after by the community.
So what's your take on UBI then?
Like mine.
Yeah. What do you think?
Yeah. It is very limited. Like.
Well,
situation.
I think I can make this question easy. What would your position on UBI be if you completely got like welfare benefits for the poor, and just have UBI instead of like welfare payments?
I would be in favor for that if the UBI payments were only for the poor.
That's not UBI. That's just welfare.
Yeah, see, that's my point though. It seems like it does seem like I just don't see the benefit in giving everyone free money, if you know what I mean, especially if it's raised through confiscatory taxation. That's the libertarian in me, like, sort of.
Yeah, I understand. But my position is that, like, so you still have a lot of people who struggle economically but don't qualify for welfare benefits, so like food stamps and stuff like that, who would desperately need that sort of money. So you just give the money to everybody, and so that you have those people in the middle who are still struggling but don't qualify for those benefits. And also on top of that, you eliminate a shit ton of government bureaucracy.
Because there's a book on the order about it. And
yeah.
And its foreword is by the guy who wrote 17 million fuck offs. Which, by the way, he's released a new version because, you know, the story has progressed. But well, it's for and against. And I think, well, the author himself is against it, but apparently it is actually really fair. Like, he goes through every single... It's only short, it's like 140 pages, and he goes through for and against, and I think there's a debate in the Q&A and some economic basics at the end. So, like, that's a book I want to get. Then Amazon's recommended.
Oh, hi, I'm the heretic.
So,
yeah.
Fucking YouTube. Anyway, so it's just, you know, this is the thing with a lot of these ideas. Like, I'm not against them in theory. Like, you know, like.
And you mean you would say in principle?
In principle, yeah, I think it's a wonderful idea, you know, but I'm just not so sure in practice. Like, welfare states work sometimes in practice when you've got.
Well, you just have to You have to keep a hold on immigration.
That you got to keep a hold on people coming in and even being born in a way as well. And who are because people are living longer now, and even if
you
I'm
just have to have
okay. You know, even if we didn't have immigration at all, we still have a rising population due to just people living longer. Like Japan has that issue. They don't have, they barely have any immigration, and they're still got a declining population because they've got cultural issues aside. They still are very long lived as a culture for whatever reason. If it's their diet or genetic, I don't know.
It's their diet. Sushi is incredibly healthy.
Do they even? I think they do have a welfare state. They have something like
they
that.
do.
Yeah.
They have like a socialized healthcare and stuff like that. But my theory is that so you know the toxicity of Japanese work culture, right?
Oh, I mean it's basically just Bushido.
Yeah, but
my uncles work in it, so I'm intimately familiar.
Yeah, my theory is that like a lot of these people aren't having kids. It's because they don't have fucking time. If they had more time,
on the job
today, if they had time today, raise kids, have a family, I think most of those people would opt to.
Of course.
But the thing is, they just don't have time.
And the thing is, it's weird. Like it's considered honourable to die on the job.
Well, most like that's the thing. It's like most office workers end up working like 6 or even 7 days a week for about 11 hours a day.
Yeah.
And that's like their base working hours. And because of the nature of because of Japanese culture, they won't like a lot of workers won't leave until their boss leaves, and because obviously their boss has the longest working hours, they're essentially all workers are working the hours of a manager.
Yeah, and that should be the case.
Yeah, and obviously even the managers themselves are reluctant to leave before like the upper echelon. It just sort of feeds down until everyone is essentially working.
Yeah, if Japan wants to get a hold in their population crisis, they have to just cut back on this work culture. They might actually just have to straight up force people to go home early.
Yeah,
if they
8-hour
really
work
want to
days.
get home.
Like they're already doing it with some companies that have especially high suicide rates.
Yeah, but Microsoft in Japan, I think, tried a 4-day work week, and productivity the next weekend went up like 50% or something.
It's because they're free and because they're fresh, basically.
Yes, that's the thing.
It's probably because they spent they spent those entire 4 days just in bed, asleep.
Or you're jerking off to hentai, you know?
Exactly.
The Japanese way.
They enjoyed themselves for a little while.
Yeah. It's very similar to like YouTuber burnout that you see.
That's different.
Like
though.
Call Me Carson had the same thing, and he just took a break for a month. Then he came back, he refreshed, and he was enjoying himself again.
Well, that's the thing with YouTuber burnout, and I've suffered this with the old channel. It's multifaceted, so it's not just making the videos and editing the videos, because some people love the editing. I hate editing, but I do it anyway because I don't trust.
Oh, I do it too. I fucking hate editing.
But I mean, if I'd learned it, if I could learn it more, so if I could learn to do more stuff, I'd grow to love it. But I'm currently not very good at it. But it's the other things. It's thinking of stuff to do. It's then hoping it'll be received well, hoping you'll get decent views, hoping it'll be monetized and things like that. And then when it hits, especially if you show your face, you're gonna get the same old stuff that's said about you. Say, like for example, if you don't have a particularly good beard, naturally, some people will always say, oh, why have you cut your beard that way when you haven't? It's just how it grows, or
It's okay, Mitch. I like your beard.
but you know what I mean, like
Yeah, I know what you mean.
And then like, I mean, it's stupid stuff that you shouldn't care about, I guess. And then you feel trapped because sometimes people get stuck into a habit of doing the same kind of content over and over again, and they get trapped in it because if they try to do something different, they don't get the views. But if they do that, they get the views, but the views are slowly declining, and then they get stuck in a rut and they don't know what to do and they burn out. And some of them choose never to do it again, while others, they start a whole new channel, or they make a complete utter break and have to redo it from scratch. But then lucky people, they make a different video once and then they're set for life, But it's a multifaceted problem.
Super Eye Patch Wolf went through that, and he made
something more comparable to the Japanese issue is Twitch streaming, because there have been people who have died in between streams. Like, I'm just going on my break and I'm gonna have a monster or a cigarette. This guy, I forgot, he was a well-known streamer. He took too much Adderall, and he basically gave himself a heart attack. This is constant. This isn't just one night he took too much. This is over the course of several years doing this.
Yeah, months. Okay.
And months, and killed himself by accident. Went for a cigarette. This is why killed himself by accident. Had a heart attack. So.
Well, this is why I worry about the folks who do EFAP, because they're doing like 11-hour streams twice a week, freaking, with streams on top of that, and trying to make videos at the same time. I know it's a full-time vocation, but bloody hell.
We've got to remember though that they don't do daily content. most of them, at the most, they'll do it a video a week. Like Critical Drinker does a week. He does a video a week, maybe two. He's not even on most EFAPs. And Mauler probably he does a video a month, several months. He's in a position where he can do that. So it's okay to do 11-hour streams twice a week. Because then they don't have full-time jobs.
Call Me Carson streams fairly often, but the thing is, he only releases videos every few odd months, and his videos are not really something he has to focus on making, because he just records himself having shit posting with his friends. And of course, he edits the videos in a nice way. He makes sure he likes it and everything. He puts more effort into the editing, more than the content itself. That's where the art lies in his videos, I think. If you catch Chicago knows what I'm saying here.
Yeah.
This is a guy who pranked his whole like friendship group by doing a spelling bee that was rigged against him. Was it?
Yeah, it was that guy.
Hey, how does I spell 3?
3.
Correct.
Hey, British Knight, spell there. Spell there.
Which one?
You see what I
Which
mean?
one?
It's
All
rigged.
right, wait, you want me to use it in a sentence?
Sure.
Spell there.
That's not a sentence.
Yeah, it is.
No, it's a sentence fragment.
Basically, when you watch this video, British Knight,
Fine,
imagine...
you need to spell there.
Right, have you seen Peanuts, the spelling bee, when Charlie Brown can't spell a certain word, right? It's like that, but worse.
Right. Okay.
It's like that, but everybody's deliberately fucking him over.
See, this is the spurgy stuff, British Knight, that you have to expect. We end up talking about weirdos' videos, then it goes into Snoopy, so...
I feel like I may have to dive deeper into the internet before I come back on next time.
This is mainstream. This is like, pyro cynical stuff.
Yeah, it was
people like
it was
that.
pyrocynical,
Yeah.
and Weast was in there too. But
It's not like deep lore, I mean, no pun
No.
intended.
God, I hate fucking deep lore. I mean, I don't hate
By
it. I
the
just
way,
hate when you talk about it because I don't know what you're talking about ever.
Just so you know, Treadlord got like yeeted hard by Discord itself.
Wow.
Yeah, I
Like,
heard
the
about that.
server's gone, all the admins were perma-banned.
Why? What happened? What, were they sharing stuff that was against the terms of service, or is it? One
Yes,
of those...
they were. They were doxing most of the people who they didn't like in Deep Lore.
So like
That's not good.
So people
Was that the one channel deep lore?
No, that's AOL lore. AA got rid of that one too because it was just super inactive.
All right. I was just gonna say, I was
Because
wondering
people,
what it was.
yeah, people didn't want to pretend it's the 90s.
Oh yeah, it has gone. Just noticed.
Because the only ones that are up are this one and Unpopular Academy.
There's also another Deep Lore, but that's selective invitation only.
Also, yeah,
Yeah.
dude, who the fuck is ready for Clown Decade 2020? Am I right?
Is that a Louis Levi reference?
I thought
Yes,
this already.
it is.
I thought we already did have the clown decade.
Well,
No,
it was
no.
more like the Clown Half Decade because everything started with Gamergate, and here we are now.
Just
Well,
saying,
technically it's
this
Occupy.
was Clown Decade Origins. This is
This is Clown Decade Origins.
No,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
would
Clown
say,
effect orange.
This is the Joker.
Now I would say, guys, that technically this is the proto decade. So like the 1900s and the late 1890s and the 1880s, 1890s was the proto 20th century in a sense, right?
Yeah.
Where everything is fine, but something's gearing up to something. There's something on the horizon. There's a calm before the storm. This is what this is basically, and I think it goes back to. You can argue you can argue even 9/11, but in terms of the cultural side of things, I say it's Occupy, or like the winding down of the atheist versus creationism debate and that whole thing that happened in not just YouTube but the real world.
Atheism plus, ugh.
Well, they were the byproduct of that.
Yeah.
But
Ugh.
Occupy was the start of it. 2011, the actual start of the decade. Occupy hits. Zeitgeist was winding down as well. I don't think it had reached peak popularity at that point. It was previous decade, wasn't it? Do you remember Zeitgeist?
Dude, I'm 18. I don't know. I don't know what the
But
fuck
British
is
Knight and maybe Chicago, you'll remember Zeitgeist, right?
Fuck is the
Vaguely.
zeitgeist.
It was this guy who made this this film series. He did it all on his own, and it was basically shilling this idea of a new world called the Venus Project, which is, I think, it's vaguely socialist. But he made a lot of criticisms about religion and how states were formed. It gets a bit wooish. It gets a bit weird and new agey. Like, we're coming up to the age of Aquarius or something like that. And he also believed that Jesus Christ was not a real historical figure, that he was invented by this guy. or something. Oh, it was
Christ myth
somebody.
theory.
Oh, there was some weird book that was made
In three brackets, that guy.
No, there wasn't. No, it wasn't. A racial thing.
That 3 brackets guy.
No, I forgot what it was. It's some French dude who wrote this book. I remember now. He thinks the origins of the Jesus Christ story comes from ancient Egypt because there's parallels with Hoth and Jesus' story. You know, how they were born, how they died. Only Hoth was a god, so he didn't actually die. But,
Oh, I thought that you were referencing the Star Wars planet for a sec.
No, Thoth.
You must go to the Dagobah system, Luke.
No, it's Thoth. It's Thoth, not
Oh.
Hoth. Or Toth. I don't
Oh,
know.
I heard Hoth. I was
Hey,
bruh.
wait, here's some cringe.
is
I
used to
never knew
pronounce
that Empire
Hoth.
Strikes Back was this, like, existential.
But like,
Is this the bloke that freaking what's his name? He's dating Sean Head. Fucking what's his name? I keep forgetting.
Armored Skeptic?
what about him?
Is this the guy he used to dunk on all the time?
I have no idea. It's not spirit science, dude. If that's who you're referring
No,
to.
it's not.
Spirit science. Oh, dude, my favorite part of his debunking of that is when
Saffron.
the spirit science people straight up said the Jews are aliens.
Saffron knows who I've got it wrong. It's not Thoth.
You remember that British night?
I do. I remember that video.
Guys, it's not Thoth. It's Horus. Yeah, it's Horus. So thank you, Saffron. And also we got Super Chat. Another one. £2 from Greed the Avaricious. I'm ready for the roaring Neo 20s. God, I hope we have a roaring 20s.
Dude, we need to bring up Art Deco. We need to bring up Flappers. We need to bring out the Charleston, and we need to bring back the rise of fascism. That's all the things. Bring it back in the 2020s, bro.
Well,
Oh, yeah.
Charlottesville
Wait a
put into
minute.
that, I'd say. But, man, you know, if
2039, China invades Japan.
imagine, right? Imagine in 1929. No, 2029.
Fucking Yokohama Bridge incident, am I right, guys?
So imagine this, right, guys? Imagine this: 2029, Western civilization collapses, but we're all having a massive party. Like, just,
Honestly, I'd be fine with that. At least we did on a high note.
yeah. And then
God, dude.
it's a massive hangover, but then we just think, right, well, time for breakfast then. Let's rebuild.
Yeah,
Really
we
is
just
a
we just
massive
collectively give the entire Western world some coffee
we
to
detox.
get over the night.
We detox.
Yeah.
We'd be the only civilization to end on a high note. Like, well, here's to 2030.
Well, fuck it. Let's just have a massive orgy and get drunk while at it.
Because Rome didn't do that, contrary to popular belief.
Yeah.
May Art Deco great again. Yes, Ebola-chan, indeed.
Honestly, unironically, bring back Art Deco. I
My
love
mum
that
would
shit.
love that. She loves Art Deco. I think it's her favourite architecture.
Yeah. Well, it's not just an architectural movement. It was entire art style too.
True. I think
Isn't
I
the
prefer
Empire
Nouveau.
State Building deco?
Yeah.
Yes,
is.
it does.
Yeah.
But the ones in Chicago.
The Chrysler building looks better anyway.
But the ones in Chicago, they're Art Nouveau. I think, right?
No, we have a lot of Art Deco too.
Thing is, a lot of postmodernist stuff looks Art Deco.
I mean, the NBC building is technically postmodernist, but it's actually more Art Deco. Like, it looks like it was built in the 20s, but it was built in
Yeah,
1988.
this is the thing. Like, postmodernism isn't just brutalism. Even brutalism, though, can look stunning. I think when it's done.
Brutalism
right.
is modernism. It's not
Is
postmodernism.
it?
No, brutalism is postmodernism.
Maybe
It
it's
is?
both. It might be. Both.
It's late modernist, early postmodernist. I think more specifically.
But certain
Ah.
when you look at video of like the 60s and 70s in Britain, though, like when they just built it, it actually looked really futuristic, and you can see why there was like a budding sci-fi genre around all that. It's like this was the future, you know.
Yeah, there's a wonderful. I mean, it's like it's not all, but even then, the art in St. Louis, that's technically modernist architecture, and it doesn't look that bad.
Yeah, like there's this weird building. See if I can find a picture of it.
Well,
Where
that's
I-
because it's really hard to fuck up an arch out.
Yeah, but also no, the St. Louis has a lot of great architecture. There's an entire neighborhood called Lafayette Square, that has painted ladies, sort of similar to the ones in San Francisco, but instead of being like Victorian, they're like Third Empire houses that look really pretty. I love them. I love going there.
I'm
Oh,
sure
you should go and see Hyde Park in Chicago, though. Half of the houses there were built by Frank Lloyd Wright.
So here's
Oh,
something I
fuck,
want to
dude,
show
I
you
love-
guys.
Dude, I love Frank Lloyd Wright. But unfortunately, there's only two houses that he built. There are only two buildings he ever built in the St. Louis area, and only one of them I can tour.
I love Frank Lloyd Wright until I realized that he was basically the architect from from Ayn Rand's The Fountainhead. Super controlling to the point that he would even force you to have his furniture, and it fucking sucked.
Now, I want you to look
Yeah,
at
I
the
mean,
stream for a second, guys.
I liked his prairie houses better than his stony and stuff. But
Hey guys, I want you to look at the stream. It'll be coming up soon. But here's a place called the Copper Glass Building near where I live, and like, I really like this building. I don't know what style it is, but it's impressive. If you've
Have you ever seen a picture of Tribune Tower?
No, but if you have you seen?
Oh, it's the Chicago Tribune building.
Have
Look
you
it up. It looks like a cathedral, but it's like 60 stories tall.
This building's actually, it's not that big, but it's impressive nonetheless. And like, you need to see it at night and in the daytime. It's really good. Like, I don't know what is that postmodernist? Is it? I don't know what it is. Like, I like it.
where did you put it?
It's on the stream.
The Copper Glass building?
Yeah.
Wait, where did you put it? I can't. Oh
It's
no,
on
my
the stream. You will see it as it appears slowly.
I would
Oh.
say I would say the overuse. I would say the like exaggerated use of glass is probably modernist.
Yeah.
Possibly most modernist.
Yeah, that's modernist. It's called the International style.
Yeah. It looks exactly like the Amex building in London, which is another one that I like. I like that.
Like most of London is modernist architecture.
I don't know. I don't really like the heavy use of glass
But that's
as
how
the
I
exterior
imagine-
material.
But that's how I imagine
It's-
cyberpunk, though. Just glass buildings. It's not even, super duper high tech.
I mean, my favorite sci-fi universe still uses high Gothic
here.
architecture.
And no Mike text channel. I'm gonna put a picture of Lafayette Square houses. This shit is nice. If you want to check that out.
See, I've become
Ooh,
strange-
yes.
See,
Remember
I've
to
become
keep the
strangely
clicky-clacky
obsessed
into them.
with Soviet brutalist architecture.
Oh yeah, Soviet brutalist.
Yeah, that like like the dreariness. Like I know it's meant to put you off, but it actively draws me in.
It actually draws me
Like
in.
I can't look away.
Well, yeah, it's kind of like
I'll
watching
design.
a car
Watch the type in.
crash.
Sorry, hold on. I'm googling stuff. I'm not
I
playing
know.
Tetris.
So anyway, what do you think about postmodernism? The PMQ.
I don't know enough about it.
I know a little bit enough. I know a little enough. What about you,
it's
British
quite
guy?
see as a concept it's quite vague because what like I think in one of his old videos before he quite like yeeted himself off the internet what's his
Trudeau
name
Tom?
no he used to do a lot of collaboration with Aidan Paladin.
Layman, he's back. He's back.
Layman, yeah, I know he's back recently, but in one of his videos where he talks about postmodernism, I think it's in one of the videos where he's dunking on Armored Skeptic.
It's
Like-
not. It's Paul. It's more Paul Joseph Watson that one, I think.
Well, he made two. He did dump an armored skeptic because he butched what postmodernism was.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, it's just like
Was it
what
postmodernism?
post.
Was it?
Yeah, it's like what postmodernism is kind
Oh.
of vague, and you have to be more specific. Like, what area of like
Yeah, that's what I was
Yeah,
actually referring to.
development are you talking about?
Yeah, because what's his face skeptic was trying to talk about was postmodern philosophy, but it didn't specify that.
He didn't
Yeah,
specify
it's like-
what branch of the philosophy.
It's like
Yeah, and what he talked about philosophy, he talked about the Parisian school of thought.
So he's talking about Derrida, not Foucault,
Yeah.
right?
No, Derrida and Foucault were in the same school.
Oh, because Foucault's well different to him, though. To
Yeah,
me.
yeah, yeah. They have different philosophy, but they were in like the same like. When we say Parisian circles, we talk about like Derrida, Foucault, and like those people.
Yeah.
Like, and that's what Noam Chomsky talks about when he talks about when he criticizes postmodernism.
So,
Because Noam Chomsky actually has really good. He pretty much agrees with Jordan Peterson and postmodernism.
Yeah, he does. But he's old left. He's not new left. 'Cause
Yeah, he's old left.
He's 10 years too old to be new left.
I have to say, not on anarchism is probably it's a good book, but it's not the sort like it seems more like the videos that I want to make, like a straight explanation of what anarchism is, rather than something that's trying to convince you to be an anarchist. It seems like the sort of thing that if you already were an anarchist but you didn't know how to put it into words, you'd read and go, "Oh, I'm an anarchist," as opposed to something that's actively trying to convince you of its merit.
Yeah, that I haven't actually read it yet. It's on my reading list because I want to do a video on anarchism. Like, what is it? And then describe all the various strands of it, because I didn't even realize until I got into the internet properly the anarchism wasn't just limited to the left wing anarchism.
Yeah.
It's like,
What about my brand of anarchy?
oh, okay, what are you?
Anarcho-anarchism.
Go on, anarchism.
Anarcho-anarchism.
Explain.
As an anarchist, we must disestablish all things, and that includes anarchism. And the only way you disestablish a non-government society is by establishing a government.
Boom.
That's a really strange way of saying statist.
That's the fucking joke, Chicago.
Because I was thinking, because as somebody who does, I was gonna say as an historian, I'm not actually a proper historian. I just have a degree. I'm just an apprentice, really. But as somebody who has, researched a lot of history and looked into the philosophy behind it, the postmodernists have been attacking it for years, and what I've got from them, and they do this in everything, literature, technology, everything. They're very good at criticizing, so they can give you some very good cogent arguments against something or critiquing something, deconstructing. That's why it's called deconstructionism. It's deconstructing something to its elements so you can pick it apart. Unfortunately, these are people who are only good at that, which is fine. They're critics.
Yeah,
We need critics.
what's his name?
Hang on. But they're not good at solutions. So when I was in my master's degree for a short while, we were reading this guy called Chakrabarti. I forgot his first name, but he's an historian. He did a book called Provincializing Europe, the idea of treating Europe historically like apparently we Europeans treat Southeastern, just non-white history, which is weird because we don't provincialize it. I mean, the only time I guess you would provincialize it is if they're literal provinces in an empire, but it's whatever. And he wants to completely change the way we deal with history because he's a post-colonialist, so he's a postmodernist. But he doesn't actually offer anything. He just criticizes how we do history and approach it from a political kind of thing. Not like the method, but he can't offer a solution because there is no
Yeah,
solution.
that's the main thing, because critical theory and critical race theory does that stuff. They talk mad shit, but they don't provide any solutions.
I mean,
what.
Go on, yeah.
Well, that's what I mean. It's like, you can even see it in postmodern architecture, like we were talking about before. Like everything, it's like it's very bare bones because it's like it looks neat and orderly and it looks quite pretty, and like that's where the overuse of glass comes from. In that it looks nice from a distance, but there's nothing creative about it at all. Like. And
Yeah.
I guess you could apply that to postmodernism as it is. It's like it's very bare bones and it looks nice vaguely, but it's not creative and it doesn't really have the spirit of anything like intellectual or artistic at all.
Yeah, there's nothing been sculptured in the true classical sense of the term. It's just kind of, well, this is how we do a circle. Isn't that a very nice circle? Look at that arch. Isn't that such a nice, wonderfully crafted arch?
Yeah.
Yes, but where's
Grant Hurst
where's
from
the flair?
of Casual Historian said this. Yeah, because he's actually one of my favorite history YouTubers, Casual Historian.
Oh yeah.
He was like, he says he made this exact point when I asked him on a live stream. He said postmodernism criticizes a lot, but I don't see it provide solutions.
Mm-hmm.
And he's also like a conservative right wing guy, so it doesn't surprise me he has
But
that
you have
opinion.
people who are more left wing, like what's his name?
Noam Chomsky.
No, Noam Chomsky. I'm thinking less anarchist. Richard J. Evans. He wrote a whole book defending history from postmodernism. It's called In Defense of History, and he's not right wing, and he sees.
What's his name? Richard what?
Richard J. Evans, or Sir Richard J. Evans, as he is now. But you don't have to type it now. Oh God. But anyway, there's a guy who's like a famous postmodernist historian called Simon. Is it Simon Jenkins? I think it is. He's in the Guardian memes. I made a Guardian meme about him, and basically he'll criticize the method of history itself, like how we do it. So we go to the archives, or we go on an archaeological dig, we compile all the evidence, but then we have to sift through it. And unfortunately, that means you have to discard everything because you can't use everything. It's impossible. So we're limited by our scope and how we can convey our message. And he apparently doesn't like that. But it's like, well, unfortunately, yes, historical books, historical messages, they have to be limited in scope and omit things because we can't fit everything into one book. It would be 1,000,000 pages and nobody would be able to read it. Which is why you have thousands of different historians in one field covering as much as you can, basically.
Yeah.
But he doesn't like that, and he
Wait, was that the guy who I made a Guardian meme about? Where he said the working class are too stupid for their own good.
No, he's an historian. The other guy who did that was probably just a typical Guardianista, but
It was a philosopher. I know. that.
AC Grayling, you mean? Yeah, he's a philosopher.
Yeah, is it that who you're talking about?
No, Simon Jenkins. I said.
Oh, okay.
It's the thing is they know that tell the American to turn his mic down. It's crazy loud. Okay, I'm sorry. Sorry.
Tell the American. Yeah.
Which one?
Which one?
You, Alcazar.
I know he's talking about me. I'm sorry. Sorry, Chad. I'm a boomer. So here, I'll.
Typical American trying to speak over everyone else.
Oh, okay, Anglo.
So anyway, British Knight. After you've done your classical liberal video, what next is on the horizon? Do you have a list, or just things?
I do have a list of ideas. Let me get it up now. I have a video that I was going to do examining an article by a particularly irritating trans activist on Twitter who seems to pop up in everyone's mentions at the even slightest mention of trans issues, whether it be Rosa Dawn, Sophia Narwhich, Sean Head, whatever. I'm sure if you saw her Twitter picture, it would like ring a bell. I wanted to do Aristotle's politics in the 21st century. Like, how could you apply the teachings of the book Aristotle's Politics?
Like, I think you still can. I was reading it
into the 21st century.
Nothing's changed. Well, it's very little, you know.
And I wanted to do a video on the utility of tabula rasa, like the blank slate, because obviously there's a more than enough evidence to suggest that blank slate isn't a thing in the 21st century. But
yeah, we know it isn't. Yeah.
But the utility of, at the very least, treating people as if there's a certain truth to tabula rasa, and how that can be good for society, as opposed to treating people as if they're all preordained from birth. I wanted to do that. I thought that would be a pretty good video to cover. And then there were a couple of more self-indulgent ones, like my opinions backed by evidence, and one that I was going to do for a bit of a laugh was a classical liberal defense of sexy cosplay.
Well, obviously you can defend that, and I've been writing a script. Did I tell you that I was writing a script about the British academic agents split about degeneracy?
Yeah.
Because ultimately, I just don't think that what British is defending is even going to harm society in any meaningful way. Because I think 90% of people outgrow it anyway. Like none of those women in that twerking video are going to be twerking in 20 years' time. You know.
Yeah.
And
I think I can appreciate British's definition of degeneracy a lot more than I can AA's, or Paul Joseph Watson's, because basically what it seems that degeneracy to them is anything that is strictly outside of Aquinas-style Christian ethics, whereas with the Britisher, it's something that actively causes a net, like it is actively works towards the degradation of society as a whole, which seems far more poignant than just, atheist man bad, as AA and Paul Joseph Watson, not in so many words, but in general, put it.
Yeah, I don't see the threat from them. I see a threat more from the likes of, Washington Post writing things, sympathetic articles towards paedophiles, like legit paedophiles, and letting them, defend themselves and say, we shouldn't be persecuted and things like that, and that type of stuff is degenerate and will harm society. But I don't view people twerking as
Oh yeah,
you know,
Paul
harm
just
society.
wasn't working. It's like Jesus Christ. It's okay, Paul. It's okay. It's okay to say you like a woman's ass.
Well, he
This
does.
is what.
Nobody's gonna judge you.
None, all
This
these
is.
people
This
who,
is.
most of these people who are against degeneracy are degenerate themselves, you know, or at least aren't,
don't
but
you
they
get
don't
it? This
actually.
is But how why- dare
you do that to my lady?
Lady.
But don't you get it? This is why the terrorists hate us. If women twerk, the terrorists have a point.
Well, yeah. Well, yeah, that is a reason why they hate us. But they'd hate us even if we didn't do it. But that's the thing, like, they'd hate us even if we didn't. Even if we didn't, they'd still hate us.
Yeah, so we might as well twerk, dude. Show him his ball. Oh God.
Anyway, we're beginning to wind down now. Anyway, Chicago Liberal, are you still there? He is not there. And we've...
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh,
I'm
you're
just
there.
gonna listen for a little bit more.
Okay. Well, we've now
longer
reached...
doing things.
We've now reached the... Well, actually, we've still got 5 minutes. But, so we can carry on a bit more. So, Saffron's wondering why we think that Watson and PJW... and AA, sorry, are wrong on their analysis. Well, personally, I feel they're picking the wrong targets. Like...
I just don't think women twerking is gonna cause the decline of Western
Well, it's not
civilization.
just that. It's, you know, hookup culture and, you know, the decline of marriage and the decline of maybe family values. Now, I think family...
Well, I think really the decline of marriage.
Look, next, women will dance in public too.
Look, okay, I think the main reason people are not having as much children is because it's so expensive, and a lot of millennials and Zoomers in the future will struggle financially, and just can't afford to have children. So you see these declining birth rates.
Well, I would say that a lot of millennial and Zoomer men are not having children because they don't want to take the risk, and this is what the tradcons don't get. And I think PJW does understand this issue, but he doesn't seem to take it into his calculations. AA does not understand it whatsoever, or he just pretends not to understand the issue of the, you know, false rape allegations and, you know, a lot of things that the men's rights movement
And the divorce movement in divorce courts.
I mean, he's been divorced before.
Yeah.
He should fucking know this.
Yeah.
It's just, I think it's a combination of like divorce laws being biased against men and
Why risk your life?
not having the finances.
Why risk your life's well-being and your children, you know, seeing your children, when you can just not have it? You know, why bother?
I mean, I have that fear, but I would still like to get married nonetheless, because I'm not going to stick my dick in the first one that'll touch it.
And again, it's the wrong targets. You know, you're not when they do target, you know, actual, you know, say degenerate stuff like, you know, pro pedophilia type stuff, and you know, whatever the SJWs are deciding must be deconstructed on a daily basis. Yeah, that's all well and good, but you're attacking harmless activities, which just, to me, is a bad look. Now, hookup culture, it does have an actual physical impact on people, obviously, you know, with the STIs and stuff like that, but then that's just the fault of, I would say, education. You know, parents aren't doing enough to teach kids about safe sex, and you can argue maybe schools.
Yeah, but I mean, but the thing is, why risk like fucking yourself over in a marriage where you could just have quick sex right then and there?
And that's the thing, isn't it? You know,
yeah.
Well,
I say this as somebody who just defended hookup culture last night.
Again, even hookup culture's a risk. Even hookup culture's a risk because of, you know, the false rape allegations.
Yeah, you're right.
You know, the withdrawal of consent afterwards. That's now a thing. So, why have sex? Why have babies? And
just have sex with other men.
Well,
have sex with...
Unfortunately, men don't.
No one's gonna believe the rape allegations of men.
Unfortunately, men aren't as fluid as women. If men aren't as fluid as women, if all the studies are to be believed, so political homosexuality. You can't say gayanism, like lesbianism.
Gayanism.
So that's impossible.
Political gayanism.
A straight man just couldn't do it. You know, it's not out of hate, he just can't physically do it. I can't pretend to be something that I'm not, so...
Okay, I'm not gay, but $20 is $20. So
Time for me to go and hate fuck a dude.
all I'm saying is that $20 is $20.
So I say fight the who's tapping. Who's clicking?
British Knight is.
British Knight.
Oh, that's me. Sorry.
It's all
I
right.
was just replying to
It's just-
Saffron in the chat.
It's yeah, I understand. It's just like it's audible on the stream. That's all. So
Oh, my apologies.
the idea is I hate to be an arsehole, guys, but it's like I want us to be spurgy, but like people get pet peeves. You know, like the guy complaining about you being too loud. You know, that was me because you were too quiet in the last one a few weeks ago.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
then I stepped it up.
So like it's just like I don't want any distractions going on as well because it stops. It helps people listen and because people don't watch the blank screen, they listen, don't they? And then they might do a super chat or something. So it's trying to minimize the problems. I know I don't want to be an asshole. By the way,
That's fair enough.
I've
You're
got
not,
I've
but-
got good news for you guys though. To
You're
round off the
gay.
stream, you are.
Wait, what?
Aha, got you.
Fuck.
Actually, he's not. But anyway, I have been in contact with the artist who did my avatar, Skalk. Follow him on Twitter. He's a talented South African. He's actually in Afrikaans, yeah. So it's okay to go South African. And
South African.
I've been unable to message him because I've been so busy. I promised him I would, but I am going to message him my ideas. He's gonna do when I get a bit more money than I do now. I'm planning it in January. I'm gonna commission him to do stream artwork for us.
Ooh.
Now,
Very nice.
I don't know.
I wonder how the hell you're gonna have me drawn.
I will give him the general idea of the picture. Then you guys can just DM him. I'll send him his his Twitter address and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And you can just tell him how you want to be drawn. So like,
I'll just send him a picture, my profile picture, be like, do something vaguely resembling that. I don't
yeah,
care.
and should tag a liberal. You can find something, as for an avatar.
Yeah, because this has been my profile picture for over a year now.
Because this is a placeholder, guys. This is just
Yeah.
the logo that I basically made.
Isn't the logo just a word Spergonomics in a black background?
I mean, I've been meaning to put like the episode number on and stuff like that as well, but I've just not had the time because I've been working over 40 hours a week. So
Yeah,
whoops.
because it's the Christmas season, isn't it?
we need almost Ebola-chan almost got censored then by YouTube, so I had to save him then. But yeah, it's just a placeholder. It's meant to be the thumbnail, but because I can't draw, I've not been blessed with artistic talent like my other half of my family have. I have to commission it, but currently it's Christmas, so I can't commission him for Christmas, but I will in January when I've got loads of money. So
Loads of money.
I've got a
Loads
decent
of
amount.
money.
I've got a decent amount this month, but it's about Christmas and just living. So at the end
I
of
make
next
more
month,
than that in a day. Probably.
so at the end of next month, I will commission him, and then he's pretty quick, I think, if memory serves. So it should be done by February, I reckon, maybe March. So we'll have grand spanking new artwork by a very talented artist. So
Yeah, I can't wait to see Teofila Braga on Vaporwave, dude.
yeah, he actually said, "Do you want vaporwave stuff?" And I'm like, "Yeah." Or is that somebody else? I think that was somebody else. But he can, if you want vaporwave, I can tell him. So
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Spergwave.
Spergwave.
You know that's a thing already.
I mean, one of my friends made a vaporwave video of just Civil War footage, and he literally called it Vapor Slave. So
Fuck's sake, man.
By the way,
By the way, how many people are in the Discord? Chicago.
there's
in
about
mine?
100.
Yeah. Is it still
109.
106? Oh, cool. New members.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Join the Discord, fellas.
So anyway, guys, I think that has been the stream. We have actually gone 5 minutes over nearly. So
Ooh.
Ooh.
so like, just so for the people who are pro AA, just so you know, this is not like hate thing against you guys. It's just difference of opinion.
Yeah, we're
It-
still deep lore gang.
Of
Don't
course we
worry.
are. And you're our friends.
I
We
don't
know
watch
this.
AA, so I don't have strong opinions on him one way or the other. But he's all right.
So, by the way, did you know that Sargon's writing a book?
What,
Oh
about
God.
What? About what?
The culture war, I think, and stuff like that.
Oh.
He
Oh.
said so when he was doing his EU
I would
thing.
prefer if he wrote a book on like Robert Heinlein or something.
Well,
Since to me that's his
I've-
best video.
I've got like 3 book ideas.
Mm.
If you want to hear them,
I
before
have
we-
I got video
some
ideas I
ideas
still want to
for-
work at. Over the Christmas break, I'll start doing some history videos.
Nice.
For me, I want to eventually write a book on whether or not the Vermont Republic is actually an ANCAP state.
What, even with
Can't be.
with
It
Boomer
wasn't-
Sanders?
It wasn't an ANCAP state because you just said
It
it's a state.
was. It was 1777 to 1791, and there was no government. It was basically just Ethan Allen and a militia.
So, do you want to know what my 3 ideas are? Before we
Sure.
go? So,
Yeah.
the first one was a book about. It's basically Alexis de Tocqueville's Democracy in America, but Britain.
Mm-hmm. Authoritarianism in the Isles.
Well, the problem is though that might be changing in 10 or 20 years. Well, for better or worse, I don't know. But
Yeah.
I still want to do it anyway. I mean, it won't be the same as him, obviously, but the general idea of going around the whole country and then writing a book about it, about the system, the people, the culture, I think there's actually room for this book to be even bigger in scope than his because it's a more pluralized country than America was in the 1700s.
Well, that's and also America in the in the 1800s
1800s,
was
isn't it?
basically the
Yeah.
East Coast and a few tiny settlements in the
Mhm.
mountains.
Yeah, you basically had like, what did he write the book? Like 1830s?
1830s, 40s, yeah.
Yeah, the
It
frontier
was, I
line.
think, 1828.
Yeah, the frontier line is where I live right now. Was that in 18? It was in was St. Louis.
Mhm. And then the second one
Yeah.
is I've already written 2,000 words as like just that stream of consciousness. Need to get this creativity out. Was a cyberpunk novel.
Yeah, he published it in 1835. At that point, frontier line was where I live.
To don't put it into perspective, that was back when New York City was actually considered 4 different cities.
God, my city's
Like
the same,
Brooklyn
actually.
was its own city.
So like the second one is a cyberpunk novel about a guy who's awoken in the year 2060. He's been under cryostasis, and it's kind of like it's a weird world where the further down the social ladder you go, the more primitive it gets because the idea is that it's Extinction Rebellion 1, so like it's Hunger Games in a sense. Like all the higher ups have this super amazing technology and they look all dead, civilized and technocratic, but the further down you go, the worse it gets for people. And
Jesus.
I mean, it's kind of like Deus Ex, normal people don't have, nanotechnology or even physical augmentations and things like that. They still live in the gutter. It's like that.
Oh, by the way, if you want to know what my history videos might be about, I'm probably gonna do a thing on the history of suburbanization in the U.S. Niche subject, but I am fascinated with
Well,
suburbia,
speaking-
considering I grew up in it.
Speaking of niche subjects, my third book, and I came up with this while I was at work. It's a kind of a local history / economic history, but this is going to be years in the making. But I do actually want to make this. It's Manchester and the role it had in classical economics, because there's a whole school of economics named after it. Manchester School, Manchesterism, because we were the free market, free liberal, the liberal economic capital of the world in the 19th century. Cobden and people like that, and I
Well,
want
it's
to.
the second largest economic city in the country even now.
Yeah,
Second only to London.
indeed. So I wanted to write a book about the history of it and its impact on the world. So I was thinking, where would I even begin? Where would I start? So it'd be 16 to 1700s. So
Basically, where would you start if you were trying to go and explain it to me at a pub?
I would say
That's how you can start.
1750s. So when the
Alright.
Rothschilds first moved to Manchester and all the Flemish weavers, where we started off as a market town, then we became a textile town, and then obviously where we are situated, it's wet and damp and miserable. It's good for cotton, so we became a textile mill town, and then because it's a major city, it was a place of political activity as well. Like, have you heard of Peterloo, British Knight?
I believe not.
Well, this was an event that happened in Manchester in what is now St. Peter's Square. It was a protest, also / speech event where the working people, well, working men really, were out there demanding, universal suffrage for men, obviously. So it was a classical liberal thing in a sense, because it was no taxation without representation.
Oh, is this the Chartist movement?
No, this is 40 years before. This is not socialism. So it's just universal suffrage. That's all it is. And they went there. They were hearing free market arguments and classical liberal arguments in favour of universal suffrage, and the powers that be were not happy, and they read out the Riot Act, but nobody could hear them, and then they sent in the militia to quash it, and they were drunk, the militia, and they cavalry charged the crowd and killed about 20 people and injured hundreds more.
Is this Peterloo Massacre?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You get it. And this actually influenced the law in the country, because the government at the time were convinced there was going to be a French Revolution in the country, and they released this swathe of authoritarian laws, and even at one point they abolished habeas corpus. So rather than, we need to compromise with the workers of these industrial towns that haven't got any political representation, because it was the years of the rotten boroughs and things like that. Anyway, we're getting ahead of ourselves, but that would be touched on in the book, because it's about the Corn Laws and how protectionism was starving people basically, and it was Cobden years later that ended it basically, and he wasn't from Manchester, but he was based in Manchester, and that's where he did most of his campaigning. So anyway, we'll end it there. So British Knight, it was wonderful having you on.
Thank you very much for having me on.
Yeah.
I really appreciate it.
Final words.
The Rothschild is a Jewish name.
It is indeed.
Just let that sink in for a moment.
Keith Wood's get a job. There we are. It's sinking. Alkazai, famous last words.
If the Jews control the world, it's a good thing.
Now that's pretty well.
It's a one-way trip to Ancapistan.
Oh yeah.
And how about you, Chicago Liberal?
No, those were his final words. Hell yeah.
And you, Chicago Liberal?
The Democrats are fucked in 2020.
Clown decade, guys. Let's
Clown
party our
decade.
way out into civilizational ruin. And as for the rest of you, get out.
All right, should we move to the